Hi, my name is David Whaley, and I'm the creator of The First Tree. I also voice a character named Joseph. So I just wanted to introduce you to this commentary mode, tell you that you can find interesting things about how I made this game by touching the speech bubbles you see in the world. So I hope you enjoy it.
Are you awake? I thought I heard you get up.
Yeah, I'm awake. Sorry, I just can't sleep.
Are you thinking about him?
Yeah, a bit. Usually get back to sleep, my love. I'm fine.
No, it's okay. What else is on your mind?
I don't know. It seems weird, but I had one of the most vivid dreams of my life. I saw a fox on a snowy mountain, just looking confused and worried. Those eyes. I can't get those eyes out of my head. She was running in the windy snow, looking for something.
Do you think it has to do with you and what's been going on?
I don't know. It was just a dream, Rachel. They're not meant to make sense. A lot's happened the past couple days, that's all.
Well, if you're not going to sleep anyway, you should tell me. I want to hear.
All right. I'll try not to spoil too much since a lot of this game ties into the very last act, which is the epilogue, I call it. But you'll notice there's lots of items around, and that's kind of what the first tree is about, is like exploring this land and trying to figure out why they're there, what they were used for, and it's kind of explained that this is a dream for Joseph, but it's something different, and it's not supposed to be like your average dream. It's supposed to be something a little deeper. So pay attention to all the items that are around and try to figure out how they tie into the story. So it's usually at this point where people say something like, "This is not the kind of game I was expecting." And that happened a lot at PAX West when I showed it. We'd have little kids play it, but then they see a dead fox cub, or a kit is technically the word, but cub sounds, I don't know, it sounds better. Like Wes Anderson uses it in Fantastic Mr. Fox, so I thought cub would be alright. But anyway, having this game, I wanted it to be more serious. This game is based on dealing with the death of my father, which was the hardest thing that's ever happened to me and my family. But I don't want to talk about it here, and I didn't want to talk about it with anybody really to this day still. It's very personal. And that's why I made this game. That's exactly the reason. Because I wanted to get those feelings out and like communicate with people without like talking about it. And so that's what the first tree is. It's me dealing with my feelings, and it was a personal project, and it was just me, and it actually, like, I'm really glad I made it, but it wasn't easy to make, I guess is what I'm saying. So not far from her home, she followed that path to something unexpected. She couldn't stay though. She had to find her other two children. So she took that path
She followed it towards something ancient. Something with answers, high and low, searching for any sign of her cubs. Points of light showed the way to this ancient tree. It was as if each one had a story to tell, all their own. The land was trying to tell my story, too. I felt like I was right behind her the whole time.
The bunnies were added because my wife, Elise, who also voices Rachel in the game, who's also helped a ton to make the game, as we were playing, she just said the world felt kind of empty and not alive enough. So I knew we needed to add some kind of life, and so the bunnies was like the first idea that came to mind. And like most of the game, I used like publicly available assets to speed up production because I was working full-time along with making this game, and we just had our first baby, a little girl named Evelyn. So I was messing with this asset called Herd Sim, and at one point, like the generation script that creates variations of the sizes of the bunny. One time I got out of control and it made like this monster bunny that towered over everybody. And I shared that GIF on Imager and Reddit, and that was a huge hit. It helped definitely gain an audience for this game. But it's hard because this game is like so serious. It's about life and death, not giant bunnies. But I knew I needed something, like a shout out to that, because it was pretty fun. So if you're able to catch all the bunnies on this map, I think there's around 13, then you'll get a special surprise. So good luck.
As a kid, did you ever do show and tell in your class?
Yeah, I think I only did it once, when I was in the 4th grade. You know how my life was around then. I wanted to show my class what helped pass the time and distracted me. So I brought a dozen paper cranes I had made. I think I told everyone how badly I wanted to be a bird and fly, embarrassingly enough.
Don't be embarrassed. Every kid wants to fly. For me, it was another toy from my dad, a wooden boat. I remember guarding it so carefully in my hands as I walked into class. When I sat down, a group of boys immediately made fun of it. They asked which trash can I found it in, or why an ugly log was my favorite toy. When I got up, I didn't even want to tell them my dad had carved it. I said it was a joke gift my friend had given me.
Kids can be so cruel.
Some of them are. I shouldn't have let them get to me, but it did. It's amazing we bounced back at all. Do you remember what my dad did for a living?
Wasn't he like a lumberjack?
That's one way of putting it. If wood was a canvas, then a carving knife was his paintbrush. Even after working a 50-hour week, even after his hands were more splinters than skin, he would bring home the nicest piece of Alaskan weeping cedar and make me toys. That wooden train was the first toy I can remember, and I loved it. I just knew from a young age I was going to be a lumberjack, like my father. those kids would leave me alone, but somehow they could tell I was different. They made fun of how far away I lived. They called my dad a sourdough. I was a blabbermouth as a kid, telling my dad stories I made up for hours. But after that show and tell, I didn't tell him much anymore. He didn't know exactly what was wrong, but his best guess was that the toys he carved weren't cool enough. He carved me a tank and tried to tell me what it was like to be in a real tank as a serviceman.
I didn't know your dad was in the military.
Yeah, in the army. The sad thing is that I'd pretty much forgotten until just now. There's so much I still don't know about him.
I'm sorry. He knows how much you love him. You're going to see him again soon and have some closure, I'm sure.
A lot of people have gotten confused why Joseph's father is called a sourdough, and it's not stated outright at the beginning of the game, but Joseph and his dad, they grew up in Alaska. And I don't have a real connection to Alaska except through friends who lived there, and it was also the place that me and my dad were going to go right before he passed away. But I love the idea of Alaska being like this beautiful solitary place. But anyway, what that has to do with sourdough is it's an Alaskan slang term about like someone who lives in the backwoods, like a redneck in Alaska. So I thought that was just to put some authenticity into the game, I added that word.
The older I got, the more I withdrew. I asked myself, why talk to anybody anyway? Why bother when I'm happy by myself? I started drawing a lot, mostly animals I saw in the woods by my home. I then imagined designing my own hideouts with things like TVs and pantries full of chips and cookies. I think that idea of leaving home and drawing blueprints started my career. I found a lot of solace in that.
I'm not surprised, but I did the same thing, you know? There's something special about having a place to call your own.
And now look at us. Well, if you count renting in an overpriced city.
It's as close as we can get for now.
I thought it was important to say that, yes, I actually did draw this with crayons. And it was just funny to me one day that I was like, I'm working on my game, and I pulled out my little 1-year-old's like crayon set to draw this item for this game. I just realized just now that I probably threw away the original. I probably should have kept it and given it away to somebody, but oh well. I feel like one of the main reasons people play small indie games is because they are so personal and intimate. So I tried to put myself into this game as much as possible. So almost all the vignettes or little stories you hear in this game, they come from my childhood, where I grew up in the middle of nowhere in Central Virginia in the United States. So yeah, that's probably why I love games like this so much, where you explore this open, wide environment and just find interesting things, because that's exactly what I did as a kid.